I went to a restaurant the other day and they offered fried chicken. And I asked the waitress, I said, by any chance, do you have it available baked? And she said, honey, why would anybody eat chicken any other way than fried? Mac Engel, Fort Worth Star Telegram, Engel Angle podcast here on the Sunset Lounge. I'm going to call this a macro podcast. I've heard that's like a thing where it's shorter than normal podcasts. I don't know what the length is. I've realized there's like details about podcasting I'm getting wrong. One, I don't wear like a hat. I need to wear like a baseball hat. And I need to look a little bit more disheveled. That would be more of a appropriate look for podcasting, I think. So I'm learning these things. So I stumbled across this interview that I did several years ago. And the reason why I'm bringing it back out, one, I didn't even know I had it. I didn't even know I still had it. And two, the other reason why I'm bringing it out is because it's relevant to what's going on right now in major college sports. And that is this whole idea of paying players and NIL and revenue sharing and an independent third party called Deloitte that reviews these contracts for players to be paid on top of the revenue sharing they're already being paid by athletic departments and all this stuff. So now this is all very much a part of the vernacular of major college athletics. We're used to it now. We're numb to it now. I don't say not everybody's crazy about it, but it is part of the fabric of major college sports. And a big distinguisher that needs to be applied here is major college sports. Most of college sports, the vast majority, does not operate in an NIL world. It's about 130 or so-ish. The ones that play FBS football, NCAA, football bowl, subdivision football, they're the ones worrying about NIL money. And really, you can cut that number in about half. And that's where the real money is, because that's where people, those are the teams people are paying to watch on television and paying big money to go see college football games. The rest, those are scholarship opportunities. Those are opportunities for a young person to continue to play sports until inevitably their career will end, probably about the time they're 21 or 22 years old. Although now we're seeing that number go up a little bit. So this all started in around 2019, 2020, 2021, when the NCAA proceeded to get its ass handed to them in court, and specifically the Supreme Court. And then we started to see the introduction and the expansion of paying players NIL money and a transfer portal, which is why you're seeing young people now transfer to as many as 4 colleges in 4 seasons in an effort to continue to play high major athletics before they were to turn professional, if they were to be that good to make it that far. Most of them are not. So when this all started, we all had people who followed college sports forever and ever had their ideas about how this was all going to look and change and how this was all going to play out. And around that time, I'm not sure when this interview was. I think it was about 2020. Allstate reached out to me and they said, would you like to interview Emmanuel Acho? Yes, absolutely. I'd love to talk to Emmanuel Acho. Emmanuel Acho is from Dallas. He was a very good defensive player for the University of Texas. He went on to the NFL. He was a 6th round draft pick, and mostly his career was, I would say, sidelined somewhat because he had injuries. He did play for the Philadelphia Eagles, got into games in 2013 and 2014. He bounced around with some other teams, Giants and the Browns, but mostly his NFL time was as an Eagle. And then, unfortunately, like I said, he suffered a lot of injuries and he had to retire. His brother, Sam Acho, also played at the University of Texas. And like Emmanuel, has gone on to have a successful career as a college football and football analyst. Emmanuel separated himself back in about 2020 when he started this, I guess, online series called An Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. And this was at the height of the George Floyd tragedy and the ensuing fallout from that whole saga in the summer of 2020, in case you forgot. And Emmanuel really created an identity and a name for himself, not only delving into race relations and talking about that, as well as certainly his expertise and his analytical work with football, college football, and the NFL. He's also, this was a unique one, he hosted a season of The Bachelor. He won an Emmy, not for that work, but for sports broadcasting. And currently he's done a lot of work for Fox Sports and Fox Sports One. And he currently hosts a show on YouTube titled Speakeasy with former NFL running back LaShawn McCoy. Which is an odd mix because LaShawn will say anything and is kind of just totally out of left field with his takes, whereas Emmanuel is a little bit more reasoned and thoughtful. You can find him on social media. He's a bright guy and he's really interesting to talk to. So where I thought this interview would be interesting is to go back and see what we were talking about as it related not just to NIL, but college sports, his time as a broadcaster and how his relationship with the University of Texas has changed, and even some thoughts about the Cowboys and how that all played out. So again, this is an oldie but a goodie. Please welcome Mr. Emmanuel Acho. Where are you living these days?
I'm in LA now, man. I'm
in Los Angeles.
Beverly Hills. Yeah.
Wow, you left us. You're a big timer now. All the pretty people.
I had to, but I come back. Matt.
Well, I've got a handful of things I want to talk to you about. Obviously, the stuff that with the Allstate and your initiative in this endeavor, but I want to start at a different point because I think where I want to begin this is this idea that NIL and paying college football players and how we got there. And I think there was this perception amongst the media, amongst fans, is that high-end college athletes, football, men's basketball players, those guys were getting paid and compensated under the table. You played, you were part of that culture, not to name names. Is that perception, was it accurate or was it just an exaggerated, hyperbolic version of the truth?
I think it was exaggerated. You know, you see some movies, you see some TV shows, maybe it's some programs, maybe some players, obviously. I know your boy ain't getting no money. And I was a first team All Big 12 player who got drafted. I had an All-American, both third team All-American AP. So your boy wasn't sorry, and I ain't getting no checks. So to me, exaggeration, right? And also Mac Brown was our head coach, and Mac didn't really play that. There wasn't like a ton of funny business tolerated at the University of Texas when I was there. Exaggeration. And I believe, and I've been fighting for this, college athletes should have been paid. I have a picture on my phone, my brother and I sitting in the University of Texas co-op, and there's an 18 and an 81 jersey at the co-op. And my brother wore number 81 and I wore number 18 in college. And I'm sitting there like, yo, you can't say this is not about Sam and Emmanuel Acho, because why in the world else would you have an 18 and 81 jersey side by side? And my brother and I both played together, for those who will listen, read, and whatnot that don't know. And we're not getting paid for it. And it was so mind-boggling. So I love that the NIL is now in existence.
I've had this impression that what we'll see initially, and tell me if I'm wrong or you disagree, that we'll see an initial explosion of money and opportunity for college student athletes. And then it'll settle down into something that is maybe a little bit more, I can't think of a better word, realistic. Do you agree or disagree with that?
You know what's crazy, bro? I actually think there will be an inverse to the graph that you just painted.
Really?
So you paint the graph that we'll start here and we'll do this.
Yeah.
I actually think we'll start here and we'll go upwards.
Right.
If you're a company right now, you have to assess what is the cost benefit analysis, if you will. If you're a local Austin cookie company and you want the quarterback Casey Thompson to be a brand endorser, you haven't yet seen the return on that investment.
Right.
I think after companies start to assess what the ROI is, they'll now be like, oh, you know what? Let's give a little more here, a little more here, a little more here, a little less there. So right now it's just throwing stuff against the wall, seeing what sticks. But I actually think over time, the market's only going to become more robust. And I actually think we'll see more money get into the industry.
Do you think at all, because I think one of the counter arguments to this has been, well, it's going to be difficult in college football locker rooms, whereas a pro locker room, a guy's making minimum $450. They understand how this works. A college locker room, you got a quarterback, maybe a quarterback who hasn't done anything yet, like the kid at Ohio State, and he's making a lot of money. And now you got a junior offensive lineman, he's pretty good, and he's not getting anything. Do you think that actually will A, happen, and B, be a problem?
Yes, particularly for the next 3.5 years until you flush out the kids who know the difference, right? 5 years from now, every freshman in college and senior in college would have been a part of the NIL. But if I'm a junior and I'm an offensive lineman and I've been protecting my quarterback and neither of us have been making any money, now all of a sudden, I've still been protecting this same dude, but he just made $500,000 this year and I made $5,000.
Right.
Oh, we gonna have issues, particularly when I know he not making that money without me. Why do you think in the NFL you see guys like Dak Prescott gift his whole offensive line, $15,000 tractors, stuff like that? Because you got to take care of those that help feed you. So we'll see issues in the interim. I don't think it'll actually materialize in anything. Or there's probably a fight happening inside a locker room right now that we'll never hear about because some kid is like, "That's why you still broke," and you know what I mean. Like there's probably that going on, but it won't materialize.
Do me a favor while I've got you. Tell me about your initiative and what you're hoping to achieve with this program.
So what Allstate is doing is they're capitalizing off the beauty of what NIL has to offer. Well, they're saying there are 22 players across all divisions on the Allstate Good Works team, and they're giving $1 million to these 22 players collectively for the individual and also for the individual's organization. Allstate Good Works is honoring student athletes that excel in work off of the field. Food banks, it might be children's hospitals, it might be food trailers. And so I was a part of the Good Works team. I remember Robert Griffin was one of my close friends coming out. He was a part of the Good Works team when we were both coming out of college as well. And Allstate is being a beacon of light. Like I just told you, Matt, it's a lot of confusion in the industry right now. But Allstate getting ahead of things and saying, hey, we're going to honor the players that aren't the star quarterbacks, that aren't the star running backs. You might be the star quarterback, but we're not supporting you because of that. So many other companies are only supporting the stars because they're stars. Allstate is supporting those who are doing star things off the field.
You're a bright guy. You're well educated. One thing we've seen is rhetoric in the last year plus, including from the Supreme Court, is that the value of an education, of a scholarship, just isn't worth that much. If you sort of interpret that way, especially with what Brett Kavanaugh said. Emmanuel, what's a 4-year degree worth? And
Ooh, it's a good question. That's a great question. Here's what's interesting. I don't know that a 4-year degree is worth all that much, but I do think 4 years of experiences are worth a ton. Let that sink
in
in.
anything, well, we say 4 years of experience in college, on a campus, or just in anything in general.
First off, in anything in general, if anybody's read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, you've heard about the 10,000 hour principle, which he made famous. In order to become an expert at anything, you got to spend 10,000 hours. I think 4 years of experience dealing with strangers. I grew up going to an all white school called St. Mark's in Dallas, Texas. Mac, I'm sure you're familiar.
Yep.
Not all white, but predominantly white. Then I go from St. Mark's and I go to University of Texas, and the majority of the players on the football team are black. But they're black from the country, black from the hood, black that went to private school, black from the city, some white cats from the country. It's invaluable to me. It's priceless. Because now when you're in the real world, you're dealing with white dudes from the country, white dudes from the city, black dudes that are rich, black dudes that are poor, white dudes that are poor, white dudes that are rich. You can't get that anywhere else. So a 4-year degree, I think it depends on the degree. But those experiences is priceless.
Hello, it's Mike Reiner of Your Dark Companion here. Let me ask you, are you looking for something to fill the long dead air hours of your day? Well, join the Sunset Lounge DFW and Your Dark Companion on patreon.com, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Replace those sad, slow hours with sports, pop culture, music woven into interesting conversations. So step inside the green door, have a seat at the bar, and get in the groove with those shows and so very much more.
When you look back at your time at UT, I know from talking to friends of mine, you'll say anything, which is great as far as I'm concerned. But I know there's some friends of mine who are big UT fans. When they hear Emmanuel Acho, like, oh my God, because you'll be critical. Do you feel still welcome when you go back to Austin and in the UT circle, or is because of what you'll say on air, has it costed you in any way?
Nah, man. Here's what you got to remember. A lot of people dislike me. I've never met one person that dislikes me to my face.
All right, I understand.
So a lot of people dislike me, at least if Instagram or Twitter were to tell you. But in person, at the end of the day, everything I say comes from a place of love and a place of logic. And so if I say that like Oklahoma currently runs the Big 12, comes from a place of logic. They
Duh.
currently run the Big 12. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if I say that, you know, Hudson Card doesn't need to start after his Arkansas performance. Hudson Card was a starter who's been replaced by Casey Thompson, for those who don't know. It comes from a place of logic and a place of love. So I also understand, Mac, I'm hypercritical of Texas because I care about them most. You know, you're critical of that which you care about.
Are you buying the Steve Sarkisian hire?
I am, and if I'll be honest, I say this: fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me. If he would not have replaced Card for Casey Thompson, I would have had an issue. But Steve Sarkisian went to Texas and only saw them to practice. You can't count a game that you weren't a part of. Casey Thompson threw 4 touchdowns in the bowl game. I get that. But Hudson Card, from everything I've heard based on my sources, a better practice player. But now Sark is like, wait a second now. It's the difference between practicing these games. Now he's moved forward with Thompson. I'm not even mad at the fact that they lost to Arkansas. Chalk that one up to year one head coach. Now go from there.
A couple more questions, I'll let you go. Can you explain to me now? TCU is in my backyard. How TCU has managed to have, because they play next week, how TCU has managed to have so much success against Texas these last 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Man, I say hungry dog got to eat now. You know what I mean? A hungry dog got to eat. And TCU, they're hungry. Texas, in my mind, like the Dallas Cowboys, like USC Trojans, like, I'll just go with those three. You arrive on the campus a little bit full. And you arrive a little bit full based upon the meals that were served years before you. Let's talk USC first. Reggie, Matt, etc. Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush. You go to USC, you already a USC Trojan. You that dude. You play for the Cowboys. You have hundreds of thousands of followers because of what Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Larry Allen did. You're already that dude. You go to Texas. Well, because of what Vince did, you're already that dude. Man, you go to TCU, you got to work for everything. Like nobody is. Oh, TCU isn't like, oh man, you remember that Fiesta Bowl with Hank Carter and went. Ain't nobody worried about that. Like respectfully, and so TCU has been a hungrier program than the likes of Texas as of late, and that's why they've had the number.
You mentioned the Dallas Cowboys. I could ask you 1,000 things. You mentioned the Dallas Cowboys. You grew up in Dallas, so I would imagine you followed them as a kid. What do you make overall of that franchise, Emmanuel? I mean, it's the most valuable franchise in sports, but they haven't advanced to an NFC title game since 1996. So even though they've got some players, you're a player. What do you think of it?
I think that there's a tough dichotomy that Jerry Jones is in between making money and winning Super Bowls. Jerry Jones was the best in the business at making money. But the dichotomy is, let's just talk this really quickly. Ezekiel Elliott, he is a star, superstar, $90 million. He's also not the best running back on the Cowboys roster. But because you're paying him, a superstar, $90 million, you got to pay him. Since 2019, when Tony Pollard came into the league, Tony Pollard is 5th in the NFL in yards per carry. Zeke is 31st in the NFL in yards per carry. This season, Tony Pollard is 1st in the NFL in yards per carry. Zeke is 29th in the NFL in yards per carry. You can just look at the running back situation and see the issue of the Cowboys. The dollars don't make sense, pun intended. The spending of the dollars, it don't make no sense. And so, unfortunately, I think that's the biggest rub.
All right, I'm gonna say this. When I covered the Cowboys, Bill Parcells mentioned this. There's certain guys you cannot give the ball that much to. He was talking about Julius Jones. He was, and I think that applies to Tony Pollard. But Tony Pollard, if you go over a certain number, his effectiveness is going to go down. Agree or disagree?
I agree with that for every running back except Derrick Henry and maybe Nick Chubb. I mean, look at Christian McCaffrey. He had gone over 300 all-purpose yards through the first 2 games. Give him the ball too much, he gets hurt. So I think that's any running back in the NFL except I would literally say Derrick Henry. I would say Nick Chubb. Maybe Kareem Hunt. Maybe.
How about Barkley?
No, Barkley got to prove to me he's back.
Okay.
You feel me? Like Saquon got to prove that he's back. You could go with the lower name guy like David Montgomery. Not a lot of guys know him. Chicago Bears running back. But
no, they're not many.
And that's like not many. Only like 9 running backs rushed for 1,000 yards last year. There's not many. So, and here's my other thing. Now, I'll be quiet after this. Make Tony Pollard prove it to me. Prove to me that you're going to get worse over time. But I'm not just going to guess that you're going to get worse over time, so I'm not going to run you. No, prove to me that you are, and then I'll stop.
This is a Stolen Water Media production.